Okay, this video I'm going to be going through changing high pressure power steering hose line in a Nissan 240SX. This will be applicable for 91 to 94. The car is a 90, but it was converted over to a dual overhead cam, which takes the dual overhead cam power steering setup, so it's basically like you're doing on a 91 to 94 versus the 89 to 90. And this is the line right here that's been leaking. When I start it up, it leaks, the line leaks right about here. It just kind of dribbles, and then when you're actually turning, it squirts out, as you can see all over my engine bay. There's lots of power steering fluid, so pretty simple to change. All there is to it is take off that one bolt there and unscrew that hard line down there at the bottom. I already unbolted it down from where it bolts to the little I guess cross member brace, I guess you'd call it, down there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna jack up the car though and put drain pan under it so it catches most of the fluid, so I don't make a mess down here. But yeah, the replacement hose is a 71872. Alright, so at this point I got the car jacked up, parking brake on, drain pan underneath it there, and I'm just gonna crack open the line up, or the bolt up here. I think they call it banjo bolt, right here on the pump, and then just let some of the fluid drip down if there is any left. Most of it leaked out, but it started making noise, so I tapped it off before I came home. So right now I just gotta crack this guy. I don't have a crescent wrench big enough, so I'm just gonna use this adjusty here, and hopefully that lets me crack it open. Alright, so that guy was actually pretty damn tight on there, so I actually had to use a little hammer there to pop it loose there, but it came off pretty easy at that point. So right now that should undo by hand. Yep, it'll undo by hand here. It's already juicing, so it did retain some of the fluid there. And just gonna let it juice down into there. And get my banjo bolt out of the way, because that I will need to reuse. These washers here, I will be replacing. The new line came with them, so I'll be doing that. Just going to let this drain out a bit, which looks like it's mainly coming from the pump, so I can get started on the lower line now. Okay, and since that line down there is going to be probably pretty old, mine I've actually had a new line bent. That's why it's not exactly what you're going to be looking at, but the fitting will still be the same. So I'm using a 14mm open-end wrench here. Put a vice grip on the line there, just to hold it from bending and such. And I'm just going to crack that guy open there. So it cracked open there, so that was lucky. That part may be hard depending on where you are. Originally, that line had broken on the parts car that I got it from, so there may be an issue. I had to get that line bent. I actually kept the fittings and then had the line bent and made just like the one that came off of the car, so that may be an option if that comes to you, but use plenty of penetrating oil, because it may be really rusted up if it's been there forever. Okay, so right here I got the line off, just letting a little bit more of the fluid drain out of that line before I pull it all the way out of the engine bay and get it set up, because it looks like I'm going to have to transfer over this pressure switch here with the harness. On this one, that wiring harness to it actually goes to nowhere, because the person who I got that line and power steering set up from originally, it just clipped that, so it would normally hook into this guy here, but it just kind of raises the RPM slightly when you're turning the wheel to keep the car from dying. I don't have issues with it dying, but it's designed that way. So if I find another parts car to grab it from, I'll probably grab that clip just because I like having it. But other than that, that part will be needing to swap over to the new hose, because it does not have that. Okay, so right here, just lining up the new hose versus the old one. They're identical. Just of course I'm going to have to swap over that bracket there over to this one, so it mounts to that subframe there, as well as the sensor or pressure switch there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Swap those over. Should be pretty simple as far as that. Looks just like a 10 millimeter. The other one looks like maybe 15, 16. That one may be trouble. It's pretty rusted, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I broke that pressure switch loose. I actually ended up using a vice grip on the old line here. And then on that one, I ended up using the adjustable wrench there. I was way off on my size guess. I thought it was going to be like a 15. It ended up being more like a 20, which I don't have offhand. So did that, actually broke loose right away, so that was nice. I didn't have to go out and buy a new one or anything like that. So I'm just going to unscrew that, undo that cable tie, and then move over to the bracket now. Alright, at this point here, you can see that I got sensor swapped over. I just cranked that as tight as possible. I didn't use any Teflon on it because it did have a little rubber O-ring in there, so and it was in good shape, so it didn't need to be replaced, so shouldn't have any leaks from there. If I do, I'll take that off, replace that O-ring, and probably put some Teflon as well. Only issue, if you want to call it that, is this bracket here. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it transferred over fine, but it's floppy. It's not tight. The metal on here is different than thickness than what is on there. Not really a big issue. I mean, it's an aftermarket parts up Duralast AutoZone hose versus, you know, OEM Nissan one. If I had gotten one straight from a dealer, I probably would have paid 3 times the price and it would have fit, but small price to pay. It'll still be able to bolt up and everything, just this part will be slightly loose, so not a huge deal to me. This line was only $63, so no complaints here. Okay, right there I got the bottom line bolted to the hard line there, or the hard line bolted to the pressure line, whatever you want to call it here. Now at this point I'm just gonna bolt the top up here. Obviously it only goes one way. I'm gonna put one crush washer here and one on there. This did come with a new one, so I'm gonna be using the new ones. If yours didn't, I'd recommend getting new ones just because they're shouldn't really reuse them. I mean, I have before, but it's not really the right way to do it. Okay, so I got it all back together at this point. Bottom one screwed in there, top one there as well. Now at this point I'm just gonna start up the car, or top off the fluid, start it up, move the wheel back and forth, might even take it for a drive down the street and then check the fluid again, make sure it gets to normal level, and then should be good to go. Just make sure to check for leaks and such. I'm going to have somebody turning the wheel while it's running, and I'll check the fittings mainly. That's where I want to check. But yeah, this is all the tools I needed here. 14 millimeter adjustable wrench, vice grips, 10 millimeter ratchet to unbolt the bracket, some little dike cutters there to cut the cable ties, and magnetic pickup tool because I did drop a tool here and there. But yeah, pretty simple job overall. One thing I would recommend that I didn't use would be to actually get the flare wrenches, or they're just like this, but they got a cutout on the end there made for lines. So yeah, other than that. Okay, right now I'm running it to make sure it's not leaking. Looking at it, bottom line looks good, top one looks good. I'm gonna turn the steering wheel so it kind of bleeds out the air some. Check the fluid level. Fluid looks okay. I'm probably going to let it run a little while to make sure it doesn't spring a leak or anything, but it's looking good so far, so looks like it went pretty smooth.